Hello, welcome to week 7 of Don't Give Up Your Day Job. This week I'm thinking about character. Well, I've been thinking about character all week. I spent 3 days just thinking about one particular character and not doing any writing at all. The reason for that is last week, as you know, I did my story arc for the 7 main and minor characters of my series. And after I had my weekly conversation with Yvonne, my script consultant, we talked about me going away and working on one particular character. There's a thing that I often see written about and discussed between writers, script readers, people that give advice about how to write, whatever form of writing it is, where they talk about story versus character. Does the character tell the story, or do you write the story and then say, I need this kind of character in order to give that story? And the two are inseparable, obviously. So when I did my story arc last week, I was looking at story in terms of individual characters, where they are at the beginning, what they do in the middle, and where they end up. And looking for connections between different characters and how I can make a kind of ensemble story, if you like. And within that, there was one character that was sort of in the background. And that character existed but didn't really have a story arc of their own. And we discussed the fact that they needed to. So I've been trying this week to give a very simple story arc to one particular character. And I never want to end up with characters that are ciphers. That's my biggest fear. If I say, I've got a character, I know where they are, and I know where I want them to be at the end, I can think of what they need to do in the middle. Or if I know that I've got a character, I know where they are and I know what they do, I can predict where they're going to be at the end. I can tell a story and I can make stories connect with each other. But what I don't want to do is end up with a character that doesn't have an authentic motivation for what I make them do. And what I've done in the past, and I mean in the deep past, like 20, 25 years ago when I was writing stage plays, is I very often had characters that did amazing things that fitted that character. They did the things that that character would have done. But the characters were taking me off on all sorts of adventures, and I didn't have a solid structure for my story. Now I'm working the other way around. I'm really afraid that I'm going to end up with a structured story, but characters that are ciphers. And I think that's something that a lot of writers struggle with based on what I've read. And so I tried to think about what would make the character that I'm working on be motivated to do the kinds of things that would work for my story. And this is a character that is very unlike me. So even though I was an actress, I struggled to think of what would motivate this character to behave the way this character does. This character is quite cruel. And I'd like to think that even if I've, sometimes offended people and not always been a perfect human being, I am never deliberately cruel. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about where cruelty comes from, envy, greed, jealousy, all these different things. And then my husband suggested, why don't you do what you used to do, actors do, hot seating. And I thought, that's a really good idea. I think in a way, I kind of always hot seat my characters in my own mind when I'm thinking about who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it. But I did this in a more deliberate way. I literally came up with lots of questions to ask myself as that character. And I ended up with what I hope is an interesting but authentic character who has come to where she is now and is behaving in the way she does now because of a complex mixture of duty and probably there is some jealousy and envy and maybe not a little bit of anger in there as well. You've just got to get back to the motivation. What is it that makes them behave like that? And I think I've got there. I think I know why they behave the way they do. And now I can write their story.